Okay, so here's another video. Previous video I did was on an iMac G4. This is a little older again. iMac G4, which is here by the way, must be approaching 10 years old, I think, this model, or around that age. This, I think, just doing some, is probably over 20 years old. Introduced in 1992, according to the details on lowendmac.com in front of me. It is a PowerBook 180, Apple, obviously, PowerBook. So let's have a quick look around it. As you can see, it's not the thinnest of laptops. It's not maybe quite as fat as that review makes out, but yeah, it's not thin. I guess the screen is probably as thick as most modern laptops, or at least some modern laptops. Okay, so let's have a look. The side here, floppy drive. I'm not actually sure if that is a high density floppy drive or not. I'm just looking again at the specs that I've got in front of me. I can't see any information on that. I've never actually, don't think I've actually tested that, see if it works. I presume it probably will. But there you go, that's pretty much your only option for data in and out. There's something missing here, you'll probably see on the other side. I think we do have the one on the other side. There's a power socket lock, which is quite cool. We'll come back to the ports here. Yeah, so I did wonder what this was at first, but effectively it's a foot. So you turn it that way and the laptop sits up so you can type at an angle. Obviously with only one foot that is completely useless. So I'll take that off. You can see underneath there's not much to that really. PowerBook 180, assembled in Ireland. I'm not sure when Apple actually stopped doing that or what have you, but certainly a lot of Macs of this generation were put together in Ireland. I presume just for the EU. There we go. That's where a battery would have been. I imagine that's long since been discarded. Would have presumably been pretty useless. I'm also told if this door actually is in one piece, then you've got a good one. This nearly is. It does come out at this side. It is slightly broken, but it's pretty much universally thought of as a terrible design, especially considering that the power button is underneath this flap, so you'd have had to open and close it pretty much constantly to power the machine on and off, which I can't imagine would have been very convenient. So we've got quite a few different ports here. I'm just looking at the symbols, see if I can decipher what most of these are. I think that is SCSI, believe it or not. I wasn't really familiar with this particular socket, but you can get, and I do have somewhere, an adapter that plugs in there to give it, say, a more standard 25 pin. I think it's 25 pin. I don't know. SCSI, external SCSI connection. My idea was to get like a SCSI zip drive or something to be able to copy off some of the software, etc. But I got the adapter, but I don't think I've actually got a SCSI zip drive. But never mind, maybe one day. The old Apple desktop bus for keyboard, and usually I think the mouse would then plug into the keyboard in a similar way to they tend to do now, except of course now these days it'd be USB. External monitor, I think that was pretty impressive in the day, to plug into an external monitor. This is some kind of proprietary Apple, apparently called a VID14 connector, apparently. Audio in and out, so microphone and speaker or headphone or whatever, jack, pretty interesting. I guess a lot of certainly PC laptops at this age would not have had any audio at all. printer, modem. I'm not sure if those were these on these older Macs. These two were interchangeable. I suspect they maybe were, because I think they're just effectively serial ports. So you can plug a modem in there, but effectively it just means you're just plugging in something into a serial port. And I think the printer was serial as well, so presumably they're pretty similar in operation. And some I think basically got reset, and I don't know what you call that on the Macs, but I think it used to bring up a sort of debug sort of window. You could type in user code things. That's not a very good explanation. I presume that, I suspect maybe is for a modem. I think it is, looking at the specs in front of me. So what were the specs? Well, see if we can see this. Introduced in 1992 at $4,110. Yikes. So God knows what that would have been in pounds in the UK. I guess at least, I don't know, $3,000. Maybe even 4, God knows. System 7.1 to 7.6.1 machines. So we have a 33 megahertz 68030 CPU. So the obviously the 68K range of Macintoshes. It's got a floating point unit. It performs 4.5 relative to the Macintosh SE. I'm not really sure what we're saying there. Okay, because I'm not sure what the 0.54 is, so ignore that. A meg of ROM, it's quite a lot really. 4 meg of RAM, expandable to 14. Now, I can't remember what my unit actually has, but we'll see. PowerBook 180. I think there's a microphone here. I guess this may be the speaker, and you can adjust the contrast and brightness of the display with these slightly clunky sliders. Nice keyboard. Control, Option and Escape is here, which is odd. Not too familiar with these older Macs, so not sure how common that was. Don't remember seeing that certainly on desktop Macs of the day. Again, you've got a return and an enter. Now, I wish I had my MacBook Pro. I've got one of the oldest MacBook Pros, the very first MacBook Pros, and that has the same arrangement. It has a return key and an enter key here as well. And here we have the trackball with 2 buttons, but I think, double check this once we get it on, that those perform the same function, because Macs in those days were pretty much strictly single mouse button. So I think you just chose whichever one worked best for you. Okay, through the magic of editing, you may notice a slight change in lighting. I'm not sure, but this is actually a few hours after I recorded the original sort of external overview. But let's get this switched on. The hard drive firing up there after the chime. You can see how rapid it really does start up. That's pretty impressive. The Macintosh Classic sort of OS boot screen should start to get some extensions. There we go. You would load these up and decide which ones you want it to load. And we're pretty much at the desktop, which for a 20-year-old laptop, which is still full of junk and add-ons and bits and pieces, I think that's pretty impressive. So, as you can see, this machine still has quite a lot of bits and pieces on here. It is a kind of used machine, obviously, but still in its used state. And here we go. So we're running 7.1, system 7.1. Potentially, probably could upgrade that a little bit. Built-in memory 4 meg, but it does say total 8. So I guess we've probably got a 4 meg memory add-on in there, unless the virtual memory is counting in that. I don't think it would. As you see, 8 meg used on the hard drive as RAM is virtual memory, and the system software is using 1.8 meg. Well, I wish that was still the case today. So there we go. You can see all these files and bits and pieces on here. Let's open up the hard drive. So if we go into applications, what have we got on here? Word 5.1, Microsoft Word. And there it goes, Word 5.1. What do we get for about Microsoft Word? Probably nothing exciting. Woohoo, Microsoft. 1992. So there we go, giving away my serial number for Microsoft Word 5.1 there. Never mind. I don't think that's going to matter too much to you. There's a few other things. The classic Mavis Beacon typing. Let's have a look at that. There we go. You can hear the probably quite impressive built-in audio for this kind of machine. You know, your average PC probably just had a beeping PC speaker at the time. Sign in. Have we got existing users? Yikes! Yes, we have. So there's quite a few users on there that have used it over the years to brush up on their typing skills. Trackball's not the easiest thing to use when you're used to a mouse. I'm sure is that possible Microsoft Works, I think. Yeah, I'm not going to load that up because you see it says MSW3, but there's actually version 4 in here. And I think that's possibly been upgraded and it really doesn't cope too well on this machine. I don't think we looked at the hard drive. I do get info on that. 63.7 megabytes, not gigabytes, people, megabytes. And it's a SCSI drive, which pretty much all Mac drives were at the time. No IDE or such rubbish. Netscape Navigator, it's got a web browser. I don't know whether this has ever been online or whether that was just put on. I guess it probably did have a modem attached at some point or other in its life. I doubt there's really any usable web browsers for System 7, but for today's usage, but especially not with most, probably at large web pages that have more RAM than this machine. Yeah, unable to socket connection. But if anyone remembers that, it looks pretty familiar. Good old Netscape. Poor Netscape. Destroyed by Microsoft. So there we go. Now, of course, this machine does also have a lot of documents and bits and pieces on here, and there's a very interesting story regarding that. I mean, this almost looks, for example, contents page, etc., like the beginnings of a novel or a book of some kind. There's just all sorts of things on here, people's kind of whole life. And also, from having a sneaky look around, you can tell that it's been passed around through different people, probably in the same family, for a number of years. So they certainly got their use out of it. As I say, there is an interesting story to this, which I will go into, but perhaps as another video, because it's not really to do with the tech of the machine. It's more just a completely separate story. So we'll wrap that up here, and let's just, one more thing to show is that if I go to shut down in here, which always confuses me because I still go over here for shut down, which of course didn't used to be yet. So before we do, for those of you who haven't seen things on, I presume it'll detect no battery in here. Well, don't know. we also do have some pretty cool stuff in here. Let's have a look. It's got Quark Express on here as well, which is a bit crazy, but we have an amazing puzzle game. These are almost like widgets in a way, aren't they? Calculator, and I don't think these things really changed much from System 1 up to System 7 or 8, maybe even 9, I'm not sure, but there you go. So, I don't know if you can detect it, but there is a problem with this laptop. The longer it's switched on, the darker the corner of the screens get, and it pulls inwards almost to this kind of level, and you kind of lose the corners completely into darkness. And from Googling it, it seems like this is a common thing on these laptops, some kind of failure in the makeup of the screen. Why it affects the corners, I don't know, but it does affect all four. You can see it's going, and honestly, the longer you leave it on, the worse and worse it gets. But you leave it off for a while, switch back on, it's fine again. It doesn't seem to get much worse. I think it's possibly as bad as it's ever going to get. So, a bit of a shame because it does spoil it, but it still works. It's still usable, even really, if you wanted to. And if we just do this, you see how quickly this goes from the desktop to power off. 1, 2, done. So I don't even think a modern Mac will shut down that quick. They are pretty quick even today, but that's got to be a record. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you want to know anything else about it, leave a comment and I'll happily reply. Thanks very much.